Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Walking Dead series by The Verdict's In. I'm your host, Nicole.
I'm Gary.
And today we are talking about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 1, entitled Years. This episode was written by, or story was by, Scott Gimple, who you guys are all familiar with, has been working on The Walking Dead since forever.
Yeah.
Denaya Guerrero, Michonne, and Andrew Lincoln, aka Rick. And then it was directed by Bert and Bertie, also known, which I was like, Bert and Bertie, so I had to look them up just to confirm that's, of course, their stage name. Their real names are Amber Templemore Finlayson and Katie Elwood, but they go by Bert and Bertie and have worked on quite a few things, such as Troop Zero, and they also worked on the Hawkeye series on Disney+.
Okay.
Yeah, so before we get into the full recap and everything, it's so good to be back. Gary, what are your overall thoughts and feelings on this show so far?
We're going to have fun with this season. The show is amazing. I love the new take on it. The Hidden City. Mm-hmm. I mean, the spin that The Walking Dead is putting on this series, the ones that live, the ones who live, is just amazing.
I agree. We've watched this episode twice now. I can see myself watching it 3, maybe even a 4th time. I really enjoyed the episode. And maybe it was the break that we needed because we did the spinoff. We did the Lauren Cohen, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. What was theirs? The Negan and Maggie spinoff. Dead City, I think that one was called. And we didn't do the Daryl one.
No.
Although you watched Daryl. Did you watch all of Daryl?
I watched Daryl.
Okay, Gary did watch all of Daryl. I watched like the first episode of Daryl. I've heard great things. I think I just needed a break from the Walking Dead world. And this show gave us that because it's like they came back and they came back harder. They came back better. And maybe it was just seeing Rick, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is the storyline that we need now. I mean, we're through with the walkers being the bad guys, the villains. And then we have the people, just certain groups, certain small groups too. That's what makes it funny. Now we're actually seeing like bigger wars happening.
Yes. Yeah, because when they get attacked at the end, I'm like, how do they get out of this? Like, how do they get out? I'm like, I know Rick is not going to die right now, right here, but I'm like, this is not just another group that's trying to fight them for resources. This is a whole nother army. Like, I don't know, flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. I'm very excited for where it's going to go. If you guys been listening to us for a while, we've normally done this show for the Walking Dead series as our likes and our dislikes, and then we have our I Ain't Fearing Shit and Most Likely to Die, which I think I would still like to keep just because it's fun.
Yeah. But
with this new direction of this show, we do feel like the show has sort of adapted and changed, and that means we need to adapt and change sort of with it. So we're gonna kind of spitball some new ideas on the format and how we're gonna do it. But for now, at least for this episode, we're gonna kind of discuss it all the way through.
Yeah.
All right. So we start off, and it says 5 years post Bridge, and we have Rick in a group, and they're killing walkers in the woods, and we immediately notice Rick is the only one that has a leash. Like,
yes.
What were your immediate thoughts in seeing this?
Yeah, that's what he called it, the leash. But we know he was the only one handcuffed.
Yes. My
immediate thought was they were all prisoners. They were prisoners and he just wasn't broken yet.
I agree.
That was my initial thought. Y'all thinking they all were prisoners, but he was the only one with the handcuff on because we know Rick. We know that he had to have done something prior to. Yeah. We know that he's trying to escape. I mean, we know Rick. So we know that they needed the handcuff, or as Rick calls it, the leash.
I agree. Although I will add that I did not technically notice that Rick was the only one with the leash the first watch. Like, it was not until the second watch that I noticed it. So if I'm being completely honest, I would say, like, immediately when I first saw it, I assumed that was their way of making sure no one gets lost. Like, I thought it was for Rick's protection. But then, yeah, like, okay, make sure he doesn't end up going too far out or whatever, and we'll hold him back. But then, yeah, once it start going more and more into that scene, and pretty much the next scene is us seeing Rick literally cut his hand off and end up sticking it into the body of a walker, that's when I realized, okay. And then the second time watching, of course, now I'm seeing things I didn't see the first time. So I'm like, oh, Rick is the only one. Well, I think you mentioned, like, yeah, he's the only one with it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice that the first time. But yeah, I thought it was originally for his protection.
Oh, yeah, I knew they didn't handcuff people for protection.
I know, I thought it was a weird way. And then I was like, the second time watching, I was like, well, why'd he have to cut his hand? Couldn't he not cut that cord? But you're like, that cord must be so thick and probably only like, you have to have like a wire cutter or
Probably
something.
had to have wire cutters.
Yeah. Okay, so him cutting off his hand, did you get flashbacks? Did your thoughts go to anything else in the past of The Walking Dead and with seeing Rick about to cut his hand off?
Yeah, it went back to Negan. When Negan was about to cut Rick's hand off. When he said either you hold still or put your hand down and hold still or he'll kill Carl.
I thought Negan too, but I thought of the moment where he was going to have Rick cut off Carl's arm. And Carl was like, just do it, Dad. Like, just do it. Like, we're over it. Just do it.
See, I was wrong. That's the scene.
Oh, that's the scene you thought of.
That's
okay.
The scene. Yeah.
That's the scene I thought of. I was like, oh my gosh, this just reminds me of this. Even though clearly he was going through different feelings. Like there, he didn't want to hurt his son. Right. Here, it's like, fuck, do I really want to get rid of my arm? But it was not fear. It was more of, I felt like it was more of a, okay, you got to do it. But it was not a fear that it was in the, originally.
I think it was more fear of the pain, not fear of the deed. And you have to think about it. He had to be really dedicated to this escape to cut his own arm off. I don't have it in me.
I don't either. I'm not a survivor like that. I already know. I'm also thinking that movie, I think it was like 27 hours, whatever it was, where he has to like cut off his own arm. And James Franco did the movie, but it was based on a true story. The guy that got caught up, I think he was like a rock climber. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, I know for a fact I would have died. Well, I would have never been there. But in the case of Rick, I would be a prisoner. I would have been given up. I would have been submitted. I would have just been happy to be there, like his friend Esteban. I would have been Esteban, really. But we'll get to Esteban in a little later. But
I don't think I would ever be happy to be there, knowing what I have on the outside.
But what does he have? Oh, yes. I mean, his family, his loved ones.
Family.
Yeah. Okay.
Has his daughter, his wife.
Yeah, and he doesn't even know. He has a baby, but he doesn't mention RJ because he doesn't even know who RJ is.
Yeah, he doesn't know he has a junior out there.
Yeah.
But he has a reason to escape. Like, I would have a reason to escape. I just think that I would probably play the longer game if it takes cutting off my arm.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Yeah. I would just be like, I'm chill, I'm good. I'm with y'all. Like, I'm part of it. And like, once they think I'm really part of it, no one's going to be watching me anymore. Boom, that's when you make your escape. All right, so we're going to do the dream sequences later, but let's go ahead and get to the next scene, which is we see Rick, he's going through his like backpack, and we see all these iPhone 7s or iPhone 4s, whatever iPhone, the earliest iPhone that there could be. We see that he's like drew pictures of Michonne, and you had some thoughts. Like, you were like, wait, did he like scrape those pictures into? We want to see if it works. Like, we should get an old phone to see how you do that.
How you carve it in there?
Yeah, how you carve it in there. Because it seems like you would just end up, it's a recipe for disaster. Like, you're going to end up getting cut yourself by doing that. But it's always just good old fashioned pen and paper.
That takes dedication. That's another thing that takes dedication. Like, Rick is a dedicated person. Yeah. So to go around finding the iPhones to carve this in. I mean, I would think, he had paper also. So we see that he was drawing on paper. He was drawing on anything he could get his hand on. But the iPhones were just funny to me.
Yeah. And then when he took out so many, I'm like, okay, these heavy ass phones, especially the earlier, like they were much more heavier. And you have 4, like you're trying to survive and you're running, you have this dead weight on you because you're carrying at least 4 phones in your backpack.
Well, no, that wasn't a backpack.
What was it?
That was his sofa.
Oh, that's not something he carries around all the time.
No, it was hidden in the cushion.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, he pulled his cushion up and unzipped it, and that's what was hidden in there.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, how is he just traveling with these 4 phones at all times? Like, it's just too much weight. But he does give us some background, which I do appreciate. Like, they didn't give us a whole long speech of it. They gave us a quick 30-second, this is the rules. No one can ever leave. The city and military are separate, but they follow this same rule, which is the secrecy rule. Once you come in, you cannot leave. And then after working for 6 years, you can finally move into the city, which is like the paradise.
Well, some people is shorter than others. Like, it may take some people 5 years. Like, it took Rick 5 years. It took the other guy, what is his name?
Esteban.
It took him 6 years.
Wait, it's not 6 years standard? Is not the standard amount?
No.
I took it as 6 years was like the standard amount you live in the city. I mean, that you have to work to live in the city. Because I remember when I heard it, I thought like something about it felt slavey. Like it felt like kind of slave. Like, okay, you'll be a slave for 6 years and then afterwards you become a citizen. Like that's my immediate thought when he was like, you got to work for 6 years and then you can be free, pretty much.
Well, your thought is correct. I mean, you are a slave. You are working to get into the city, or you're slaving. Well, I don't know. You could be just working for your keep, because I'm pretty sure while they're out there working, they're getting fed. I mean, which also it could be a slave. You know what I'm saying? But there's an end goal, and maybe they have to know whether they can trust them or not. Like, okay, if they're this dedicated to work these years out here, helping the city out by killing walkers on the outside, keeping walkers from getting close, or I guess keeping people from getting close. If they're able to do this, then they earn their way into the city.
I wonder what they do for families then. Like, do they split the families up? Like, they'll let the mom go in with the kid, and then the dad has to stay out and work for 6 years, or how that works when they get a family.
And really, I think this is only for the hidden city, because you have Portland and you have Omaha, which are public cities. They're not hidden. I'm pretty sure people just walk up in there.
Yeah, and we'll get to that because they mentioned the third city, but we don't know the third city. The two other people know. The other two cities don't know the third city that they're in alliance with.
Well, they know they're in alliance with the third city. They just don't know where.
Exactly.
Right. But I mean, if I'm a person and the world came to an end and I don't have anybody else, like some people don't have anybody else, all their people died and everything. Mm-hmm. They're happy to be here. I wouldn't have a problem working my way into the city.
Yeah. Especially later on when we see the city. Esteban's having a picnic. It looks beautiful. The city looks like it's thriving. I'm like, where's that? Like, I want to go there. Everybody looks happy there. But all right. So we meet Donald Okafor, who's played by Craig Tate. You may have seen him on Snowfall and King Richard. I'm trying to think, who was he? Was he Serena and them's dad on King Richard? And you watched Snowfall. Did you recognize him from Snowfall? I said, was he their dad on King Richard? I forgot Will Smith played the dad on King Richard. I'm just looking it up now. I'm like, oh yeah, it does. It's the memories coming back. Will Smith played the dad on King Richard. Well, he had a part. He had a part in that movie.
I do remember him from Snowfall. I don't remember him from King Richard. But, I mean, we only seen King Richard one time.
Yeah. And looking at the cast of King Richard, he's like farther down the line, so he probably had a smaller part.
Yeah.
I noted, he's a regular sized black guy, so he'll probably be safe. He won't die. He's not like humongous like Tyrese or old boy that we met in Dead City. So I was like, he's going to survive. He's not going to let Rick beat him up. Like, this guy's different. So I was very excited to see his character. We all know what happens at the end. Did you think he was going to be a character that stayed with us, or were you expecting him to not make it much further than the first episode or two?
I thought we would get him the whole season. I really did. He seemed like he was a good mentor to Rick and what is the other lady we met? Thorne. Pearl Thorne. It seems like he got a good sense of them. He saw himself in them to know that he could trust them. Well, eventually trust them. Yeah. Or knew they were going to fall in line. Yeah, I thought he would be around the whole season.
Same. So we meet him. Rick is out there like killing the walkers. Boom. He is earning his keep. Like he should really only have 3 years. If the standard is 6, he should really have 3 because he's doing a really good job. Like boom, boom, boom.
Well, I guess he did work hard because he's only been there 5 years. Rick should have been dead already.
Yeah, he should have never made it that far.
I think the only reason that they didn't kill him after the last one is because he lost a hand, and that was punishment enough.
Probably because what Okafor tells him in this scene, he's like, you think staying out here is going to give you a better chance at getting away. It's really giving you a better chance at dying. Like, the longer you stay out here and play these games and everything like that, you're going to die. So.
Yeah. Because they're not going to let him escape.
Yeah. And this is now when we meet Pearl Thorne, played by Leslie Ann Brandt. You may have seen her on Lucifer, The Librarians, or Single Ladies. She throws a piece of glass at him, which I didn't get. It didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense.
And she goes, hey, I want to thank you, for showing me that we can't get away. Like, she knows if he did all that, cut off his arm, he still didn't get away, then she just knows that there's no way to get away.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But, like you said, it didn't make any sense how she said it. Because she said, instead of throwing glass at you, I should be thanking you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Then why did you throw the glass? And who throws glass at someone? Like, it was just so random. But I do end up liking her character. But for meeting her that first time, it was just like, who are you and why'd you do that to him? And then we immediately meet Frankie Queenez, or Esteban Garcia, played by Frankie Queenez. You might know him from What We Do in the Shadows and This Fool. I'm like already love this character already. Hope we get to see a lot more of him. He immediately goes up to Rick and he's just like, yo, like, I can't believe it's true. Like, I heard about it.
He said, damn, I heard about it, but didn't think it was real.
Yeah, didn't think it's real. And then he was like, can I touch it? I was like, oh my God. Like, he's just like the fun friend. Like, he's saying all the things that, we're all thinking.
Making light of the situation.
Making light of the situation. Yeah, I like that. And he tells Rick, he says, maybe when you look over there, because they're sitting at a bench across the beautiful sea is like the hidden city, I guess. And he's like, maybe when all you look over there is all you see is Alcatraz. And all I can see is that good life. Like, they got air conditioning. He's like, air conditioning, yo.
Oh, and you can tell that's a big commodity.
Yeah. He's like, no more sweaty balls or something. He's like, no more sweaty balls. Like, yeah. Like, I can only imagine life without air conditioning. It wouldn't be pleasant.
And I'm glad he said it. And he noticed. He knows Rick. Because he said, you look over there and you may see Alcatraz.
Yeah.
You may think you're locked in or stuck. Because they know Rick don't want to go in. He tried to escape 4 times.
Yep. And then what did he say about his scowl? He said something about a gift. He's like, what, a scowl? What, you going to give him, a scowl? He was really funny.
Yeah, basically telling Rick, hey, you're out here with me. We don't have nothing to give.
Right. But one piece of advice that he did give Rick, and you can talk about because you were surprised that Rick didn't already think of it. And he says, man, like, pretty much if you were smart, you would make your next move once you're on the inside. Like, once you're in the inside and you're no longer being watched 24/7, that's when you make your escape.
And that was the first thing I thought about after I found out that Rick was trying to escape after he cut his arm off. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why don't he want to go in there? Why don't he want to join them so he would see what's going on? So he would know the game plan to when we're invading this, what we're trying to stop. He would have been, if Rick would have joined him when he asked, which, like I said, Rick's only been there 5 years, but we know that Rick was asked a lot of time because Esteban confirmed it.
Right.
He said they're trying to get you to be a CRM again. So we know they've been asking Rick, for a minute to do it. And I would think, just being as smart as Rick is, as we've seen him be, that he would have been like, you know what? Yeah, this would be my perfect opportunity to escape. Let me be a part of them. Let me learn their game plans. Learn all the knowledge, everything they know, and it'll be easier for me to get back home, or at least get my people here. Which it doesn't seem like Rick is concerned about getting his people there. He's just worried about, getting out of there, disappearing, getting back to his people.
I agree. I'm surprised that Rick didn't think of it either until Esteban said it. But sometimes, where you get like brain fart, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not think of that? And it kind of also goes back to, like, whenever you watch movies and stuff and you see, like, the person confront them, like, I'm going to call the police on you. You're going to jail for a long time. And you always go, why did you confront them? Why don't you just play along, act cool? Why would you tell when you're locked in a corner by someone? And that's what Rick
your whole plan.
Yeah, give them your whole plan. And that's what Rick has been doing. He's been, like, showing them their whole plan this whole time. And instead of just acting cool, calm, like he act like Esteban. Act like you want to be there. So I was surprised as well, but I'm glad Esteban, like, kind of put this thought in his head, because now Rick finally agrees. Like, he goes, okay, I'm gonna join your CRM.
And I love that we found out in this scene that Rick is the first person to ever try to escape.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with him at first. They were confused. Who would try to escape that? And going back to why didn't he bring his family there? He doesn't want to bring his family there because later on he says it. He's like, when Thorne was like, yo, this is good. When Okafor brings her and Thorne in and tells him his plan, she goes, what else is there to improve here? This is perfect. And Rick goes, we're not free. We can't leave. So Rick would never want to bring his family there because to him, he's seen the CRM on smaller scales, whether it was with the governor or Terminus and in different places. He's seen where you can't leave, and that's just the beginning of people trying to take control of you.
He's never seen anything like the CRM.
No. But I mean, his head, he has seen it on a much smaller, individualized scale.
I think he's speaking out of selfishness when he say that, or speaking for himself when he say we're not free, we can't leave. The only reason he wanted to leave is to get back to his family. But if he had his family with him, like, why would he want to leave? We find out that right now you're in the most powerful army in the world. The most powerful. You're the last standing. And you're trying to leave that?
One person's paradise, maybe somebody else's nightmare. I mean, look at the U.S. There's millions of people that try to get in the U.S. illegally every year, and legally. But then there's also U.S. citizens that are always looking to move abroad. They don't want to be here anymore. So some people are like, why would you ever want to leave here? And others people are like, okay, you might think it's perfect, but there's a lot of problems.
I understand what you're saying, but it's not the same thing. Rick's never been in a hidden city. So if he hasn't been in the hidden city and know what it has to offer, then how would he know that it's not a good place for his people? I think the only reason Rick is saying that it's imperfect because you can't leave is because at the moment he's trying to leave.
I do get what you're saying, and that may very well be the case. But I'm gonna also use a real life example. Once again, I've never been to North Korea, but they talk so bad about North Korea. Like, I don't need to go to like experience it for myself.
Still a different situation. You saying they talk bad about it? Nobody's talking bad about the hidden city. Nobody knows about the hidden city.
That's true.
So you're still using examples.
I mean, I guess he still knows the rules. Like, you can't leave the hidden city, so that he knows that enough to know, like, okay, I don't want to go there. You can't leave.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The only reason that it matters is because he wants to leave right now. That's not what makes the city imperfect. I'm pretty sure that this is probably the safest place you could be at the moment.
True, except for we do see Omaha, which I know happens in the World Beyond, but in season 1 that happened in World Beyond, so it kind of gives us an idea of when all that was. But all right, well, let's get to it. We get Okafor. We get Rick suited up. He looks amazing suited up. It just reminds me, I don't know, I was getting like Avengers. I was just getting like, the Avengers thing, like suit up, like you're seeing all this cool tech. And actually I was getting Avengers, and I was getting Hunger Games, like Katniss Everdeen, Girl on Fire. I was like, yes, like you're suiting up, but really you're not playing their games. You're doing something else. And we get Okafor. He meets with Rick and Thorne, and he explains he wants them to be leaders. He tells the difference between A's and B's, which we've been hearing about almost since Terminus, when we saw the A's on one cart and the B's on another. I believe that's when the A's and B's came back. I still don't know if that is related to Terminus. I'm assuming it is, because what's the chances?
Yeah, we hear about it, or we first see it in Terminus. I think we first hear about it by, we call them the trash people.
Yep. Jadis. Which we know she's involved, which I still call bullshit how they kind of wrap that in, because I don't know. It's possible. It's possible that she was involved. But Okay, so we learn A's are for strength. They die for what they believe in. People follow A's. It's clear that Rick is an A. But we know that Jadis had referred to him as a B. And B's are pretty much everyday people trying to survive. B's are pretty much everybody.
Everybody.
And then there's a few A's here and there that will, like the Ricks and the Thorns. And he says the CRM needs to change. They need leaders. And in order to get leaders, they need A's. But they're not letting A's in. So what are your thoughts on his explanation for A's and B's and what he thinks of what the CRM needs?
Well, the explanation is smart, that they don't want any A's there, that they rather kill them or just not bring them in at all, because we see what happens. We saw what happened at Alexandria when the A came in. What did Rick say? The first thing he said is, we'll take this place.
Yep. Take this place. They don't fall in line.
If they don't fall in line, we will take this place. So we already know what A's are capable of. And if they're trying to build the cities back up, which, I mean, I love the way they're doing it. They're doing it as like states. Yeah, you had a federal government, the army that's protecting it, but you are ran, individually by whoever governs that city. Mm-hmm. All right. So they don't want a Rick coming in there. And I can understand that. But there is a flaw in that. Because if they don't want anybody that's capable or had the potential to be a leader, then that's when you end up with all these older people still trying to govern way past their time. Like, you need the younger people to come in and people to take over. You need those A's. Yeah,
because if all you have is B's, eventually you do need someone to lead. If shit hits the fan, what are people going to do? Like, right. You need someone to be able to... They do need a leader that they believe in and that they can follow.
Well, if you all you have is B's, you have to understand that nothing will ever change. Like, even when you get those people in the positions, they're still doing the same thing the people before them were doing. Mm-hmm. And they're doing the same thing the people before them were doing. And while the world is changing, which we see they're trying to make a way for the world to come back, while it's changing, you don't have the people to adapt to that change or the people to make changes along with those changes.
I agree. Well, Rick asked Okafor, well, what if we tell the higher ups, what you're telling us? And Thorne had to shut that shit down real quick. She's like, we?
We.
There is no we.
Thorne's no snitch.
Thorne's no snitch. There is no we. Do not group us together. And then Rick goes, okay, well, you're saying I'm an A. What makes you think I'll even go along with it? If A's are supposed to be leaders and do whatever they want, what makes you think I will go along with it? And Okafor says, because I know the two of you and you guys will save the world no matter what you got to do it. Like, you're heroes right. Through and through in the end.
You protect people.
You protect people. And in the end, he's right, because then later on we see Thorne protect Rick, even though she was risking her own butt. Rick protects the girl, even though he was risking his own butt.
Yeah.
So Okafor has a good take on both of these people here. And he starts it off by giving him a lesson. And the first lesson is, he goes, let's start off by talking about the Cold War. What do you think him and the Cold War, is he giving them a history lesson of maybe how different wars were fought, how different governments were overthrown or different regimes were overthrown? Like, why do you think he started talking about the Cold War?
Well, he's a military person. And I'm pretty sure to be in a position that he was in, that he did a lot of studying of different wars in the past or different civilizations, how they were ran. And I mean, you have to be a student of history to know that something's not going to work. Like, he's looking at the hidden city right now and all three cities, and saying that things need to change. So you have to be a student of history to know that, yeah, we're not protected properly. Or we're going to eventually run into the same problems that we ran into before. Mm-hmm. When the world falls, when the zombies come in, you're going to have complete chaos in certain areas. So that's why I think he's probably started with the Cold War. Hey, let's start right here. Let's talk about this. You have to understand what I'm about to teach you to understand where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm. You first got to understand your past and your history to know where you're going in your future.
Understand the future. Warren Buffett said that. Warren Buffett said that every morning he wake up and for the first, I think, like 6 hours, which is a lot of fucking hours.
Yeah.
he reads. But what he reads is like newspapers from the past, magazines from the past, how things worked in it, read over like the history of the stock market, because he said that if you can understand this, you can understand like where it's going, because history repeats itself. And also, Nicole, I know you understand this better than anybody, because you always talk about like when you watch the West Wing or old episodes, you always say, damn, this just happened. The same stuff is still happening over and over. Past wars sound like recent wars. Mm-hmm. I mean, this stuff, like history repeats itself.
Yep.
And it's almost like it's a carbon copy.
Yep.
like it repeats itself to the T.
I remember the first time I was watching The West Wing, and this was maybe 8-9 years ago, whenever, but the show was already old. And I remember an episode was on, and I forgot what was happening, but it was happening currently then. And I'm like, wait a minute. How is this the exact same thing going on? It's like 20 years later. They're talking about it, and you think the show's new, and it's not new. And then it happens several times throughout the series. Like something else come. I'm like, wait, we were just talking about that like a year ago.
Yeah.
They will repeat this shit over and over and over. And now we're alive to remember when it happened before.
Yeah.
All right, so after their meeting, Thorne, she confronts Rick and says, hey, don't do that we shit again. Like, I'm on my own, you're on your own. And she tells him, like, she was a soldier, she was playing poker, she was having a good time. Something happened, I think the walkers got in, they found her half dead, and she's like, this is all I have left. Like, pretty much she said she had a love back there too. And she had someone she cared about then too.
Right.
But it's done. And Rick is like, they're not gone. Like, she's not gone, because she's pretty much telling her, like, forget about Michonne. She doesn't know Michonne's name, but she's like, you got to forget about it. Like, this is your new life. And he's like, she's not gone. They're not gone. And I like that Thorne says, they aren't gone, but we are. Like, they're living their lives. Now we got to go live our lives. And she kind of ends it on a good note. And she goes, let's just go grab a drink before we kill each other, because she sees how similar they are.
Yeah. And in a way, she's saying that, well, she said what she said, that they're not gone. We're the ones that gone, which is true. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're still in the same place, although we know that Michonne is looking for them right now.
Right.
But she also said that you will be able to protect them better from here, which I completely get that. Like, if you're a part of the army, you know what's going on. Yeah, you will be able to protect your people better. Yeah, you may not be able to see them again, but you can make sure no danger goes that way. Or if you need to, you know where they are at. Whether you have to go rescue them to get them back to the hidden city or whichever city they allow them in. Mm-hmm. So what she said made perfectly good sense.
Yeah, and that's later on Okafor, when him and Rick are fighting, he pretty much says that same thing, but more in a threatening manner. But next we learn is about the Portland, Omaha, and the 3 cities. So it says 3 cities, although 2 do not know where the third is. And based on both the 2 cities that we do know, Portland, Omaha, those being on like the northwest side of the U.S., I'm assuming that third city is on the northwest as well. So right now, Rick is sort of far. He's on the west coast. Michonne and them were on the east coast.
Well, I don't think so. I think it's probably somewhere in Pennsylvania. Because remember, they said that the Pennsylvania National Guard is what the force used to be. And they're the ones who saved the city, saved the hidden city. They saved it from the army that was trying to, I guess, drop napalm on them also.
They did mention that. But Pennsylvania being that close, they would have been, there's just no way. Like, if they were...
Well, I'm just guessing Pennsylvania because they said they were the Pennsylvania National Guard.
Yeah. Unless they're just far from home. I don't know, because then how are they partnered with 2 West Coast, cities?
Well, they probably partner with 2 other thriving cities that hasn't fallen yet.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. We'll have to learn more. We don't know where the third city is. But we meet General Bill, played by Terry O'Quinn. If you guys know Terry O'Quinn, he's from Pieces of Her. He's been on Hawaii Five-0, and most notably, he's known as
Lost.
From Lost. John Locke from Lost. I didn't even recognize him at first. I recognized his voice, but you recognized him immediately. And then as soon as he started talking, I was like, oh yeah, that is John Locke's voice. And I had to like look at him good.
Yeah.
And then Hawaii Five-0, which is another show, a Lost alumni, Daniel Day Kim plays on. He's been on that show too. So what are your thoughts so far with meeting General Beale, and what do you think is he going to be a problem for Rick?
I don't know. I do not know. I know he knows Okafor is trying to change something.
Yeah.
Or he has a feeling. Maybe Okafor is being distant. And he probably think, well, since Okafor came to me trying to, Okafor. I say Okafor. Since Okafor came to me trying to save Rick, then he's saving Rick for a reason. So maybe he's told Rick something or whatever. But in this conversation, we also find out that, isn't this conversation we find out that Okafor changed sides?
Yes, because that's what I have written down. He said Okafor is a traitor. That he was like fighting for one side.
He was fighting for the military.
Yeah, and then ended up switching sides
to the Pennsylvania National Guard.
And he tells me, he said, you wouldn't have ever been allowed in the CRM, let alone the Army. Like, you wouldn't even be allowed to live here as a citizen. But now you're not only a citizen, but you're in the Army, where you're going to learn secrets as you move up. And he asked, is Okafor up to anything I should know about?
Right.
And Rick tells him no, but he doesn't have enough oomph in him. So then Rick has to like really sell it. Because Rick is like, nah, I'm not just selling him. I have to sell it for myself. Yeah. Because Okafor gets out, I'm out. And he tells him no. And he asks, why is he here? Is this another attempt at an escape? And Rick was like, yo, look at me and see what you think.
Right. I'm glad Rick didn't... I'm glad he said that. He said that so he wouldn't have to lie just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Because the two lies, he would be able to like, okay, if he figured out that second lie, then the first one obviously is a lie. Yeah. The second one was like, yo, you know how when people go, do what you got to do?
Do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. That was a do what you got to do moment. Like, I ain't going to sit here and try to beg you to listen to believe me.
Believe me, yeah.
So... we get Rick going to meet Esteban, which reminds me now, goes back to with what you were saying. How does Rick know the city, that he doesn't like the city? Well, when he goes and meets Esteban, obviously they have visiting days, because Esteban was like, what are you doing down here? This doesn't come until next week. He's like, wait, no, that's not even that day. He's like, how are you here right now? And that's when he's like, wait, you joined. So remember, at first he thought Rick was there on a visiting day. So you do get to visit the city.
Well, I understand there are visiting days, but I could tell Rick doesn't really visit by him saying, yeah, what are you doing here at all? You know, oh, you joined. Because he said that, yeah, you're right. He said that this is not a visiting day. It's not a Tuesday or something. Like, yeah, this is not a visiting day. And then, but he was like, hold on, what are you even doing here at all? Like, Rick doesn't go there.
Doesn't visit.
Rick doesn't visit at all.
But he's probably had to visit at least once to know what he had to get intel. We know Rick. He didn't just not go.
We know Rick, and I believe that Rick just didn't go. I believe Rick didn't want anything to do with the city.
All right, so Rick asked Esteban for help. And Esteban is first like kind of pissed, like, yo, what you asking me for? Like, I just made it here. I got my, I got my new promotion.
Yeah, he's a supervisor.
Yeah. But Esteban ends up helping Rick out and tells him not to fucking die. Like, just don't die on me. Like, I didn't do this for you to die. What did you think of first Rick asking him? Do you think Rick overstepped?
Rick definitely overstepped. But like I said, Rick's on a mission. But Rick definitely overstepped. Because not only are you putting yourself in danger, this man actually wants to be here. Right. He wants to be here. He has a new love interest. Yeah. A reporter.
Yep. He was having a picnic with.
Yeah, he was having a picnic with her. So you are putting his career at jeopardy. He just made it in a city that he want to be in. He's living his best life. He have AC. And this how you come at him? Mm-hmm. But I can understand, like, You don't know unless you ask.
Yeah.
I think he overstepped, but then again, he had to ask to know if he was going to get that answer or not.
Yeah, I mean, he got the answer he wanted. But
He
I
did.
don't know. When Rick was asking him, I was like, that's fucked up. Like, you should not even put him in that position.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me, like, when you're a kid and your mom goes, like, that's not your friend. Your friend would have never asked you to do something like that. Like, your friend would have never had you get in trouble.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, yo, Esteban, this is not your friend because he knows how much you want to be there. Why don't he go talk to somebody that's ain't doing shit with their life? Like, why is he gonna get somebody that's like on the road? Like, they about to go to college. They about to start a whole new life, and then he's gonna be like, "Yo, come hit this lick with me." Like, no, like go ask somebody else that's doing some foolishness.
Kevin finally made out the hood.
Yeah, Kevin finally made it out the hood. Kevin got a job.
Kevin's working at McDonald's now.
And then here goes Rick trying to pull him back in.
Trying to pull him back.
But it goes cut to immediately showing Rick trying to escape. Like, he didn't waste no time getting
Immediately.
in.
The next mission.
The very next mission. Here he is. He's trying to escape. But then I was confused the first time. So I'm glad we watched it a couple times because I'm like, where'd this little girl come from? And I see she was, and then later on when Thorne explains it, but we see a little girl appear out of nowhere. So Rick has to, well, he doesn't have to, but he chooses the right thing, which is to abort his plan. And now he tries to run after the little girl because now there's walkers everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Thorne ends up saving Rick because he's kind of overrun with walkers. And I like that she had a silencer, so her bullets weren't loud. And she says, tells him to thank you for saving me. Like, you should be thankful I saved you because Okafor knows about you. She's like, he knows about you. So she doesn't go into, she didn't even say Okafor. She goes, he knows about you.
He knows everything about you.
He knows everything about you. What were your whole thoughts on this whole scene of him trying to escape, it getting ruined by the little girl, and just what Thorne said to Rick?
I think Rick had a pretty decent plan this time. Like, he killed a walker, dressed him up.
Yeah.
Put his dog tag on him.
Did he cut the arm off the walker?
Cut the arm off.
Okay.
Yes. So he made the walker look like it was him.
And that way they won't chase him because they'll think he's dead.
Think he's already dead. Because remember, he was going to cause the explosion. Uh-huh. Which Thorne said that, hey, he's already steps ahead of you. He knows what you're going to do. He knows what you're going to do. He knows where you're going to go.
Yep.
So you can't run. I basically saved your life because do you think he would have stopped at you if he got to you? He definitely would have killed the people you love also. We know Michonne is an A.
Yeah. Yep.
Michonne has 2 kids also, 2 children.
Yep, she's raising 2 A's.
Man, you would never be able to keep Michonne there. Mm-mm. I mean, it's hard to keep her Rick there, and that's just with a wife and kid.
Yep.
Michonne with a husband and 2 kids.
Well, we get Rick. He wakes up Okafor with a knife to his throat. And I was just so surprised. I'm like, this is what you do when you find out he knows about you?
Yeah, go find out what he knows.
What he knows.
Yeah, that was crazy. But we also find out that Okafor, not only was he a traitor, he bummed 4,000 Marines. 4,000. Including his wife.
But I didn't get it. But he made it sound like it was the lesser of 2 evils. It's like, I did that in order to save hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, he killed 4,000 to save hundreds of thousands.
Mm-hmm. So that's a true A. That's a true A, I feel. Like, if you're going to be a leader, you got to be able to make those hard decisions too.
But one thing, you're right. And I listened to the story over and over, and I didn't get it because he said his wife didn't want to leave Philly. Remember, he said his wife didn't want to leave Philly. Oh, yeah. So we're coming back again. We're in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know how Pennsylvania, and then they ended up all the way like Omaha and Portland.
I mean, they're the military. They can go wherever in no time. Like they have helicopters. So I'm pretty sure with flying around the world, because we've seen the helicopters on the West Coast. Then we see the helicopters in Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, but that had to be like right at the very beginning.
Yeah, it was at the beginning. But we knew that, the military were there or were involved at the time. And
you know what? Nebraska's more actually sort of in the middle. I'm looking at the map. Like, Oregon's definitely West Coast, but Nebraska's more in the middle. I was thinking Nebraska's a little bit further west than what it is, but it's sort of right there in the middle. So maybe that does make sense. Oregon, and then Nebraska, and then PA would be the third state. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but what I don't get is, was his wife a part of the military, or when he said she didn't want to leave Philly, she was just there. That's where they were from.
I don't know, because he said something about Atlanta too. He bombed Atlanta.
He said he was the one that bombed Atlanta.
Oh yeah, he's like, I bombed Atlanta and LA. Like, man, you're just going everywhere bombing places.
Well, I love that they brought that back. That he said he's the one that did it, because remember when Rick said that he was in Atlanta when they dropped napalm?
Yeah.
So I'm glad, like a couple of scenes later,
yeah,
he said, "Hey, I'm the one who did that."
Yeah. Because remember, Shane got Lori and Carl out of the city in time before it got bombed. And then in LA, I can't remember what happened in Fear that first. I got to go back and watch that first season. Fear is so good.
In Fear, remember they tried to lock the people inside the city also.
They were going to lock them up and just kind of keep them there.
Keep them in the cage, locked up.
Sick. You got to go. If you have not watched Fear the Walking Dead, watch at least those first 3 seasons. They're magic. They truly are.
They are. I mean, it probably still is. We just, I think one of the villains just turned us off, and we haven't went back.
Yeah. I've gone back a little. I'm kind of like on somewhere in season 5, season 6, because I don't want to spoil it, but a certain character from The Walking Dead, several characters from The Walking Dead are now on that show.
Yeah, several characters.
But okay. So they start fighting. He pretty much tells him, "Hey, I found a message in the bottle," which I'm like calling bullshit. Like, okay, whatever. Like, first of all, Rick put the message in the bottle, threw it, and just hopes that someone was gonna find it. Okafor realizes that Rick threw the message and goes and finds it after the fact. Like, how this? I don't know. And he's like, Michonne is a unique name, which is very true. Michonne is a very unique name. And based on where we picked you up, he pretty much implies it wouldn't be that hard to find a Michonne. And he knows what she looks like because Rick has drawn thousands of pictures. So he knows that she's probably African-American and has dreads. Her name's Michonne.
I mean, she could be white and have dreads.
Okay. She has dreads. Her name is Michonne. He's going to look for her.
Does she really have dreads in the picture? Because it looked like he just have lines drawn from her head.
She has some unique hair. Okay,
lines drawn from her head.
She has some long hair. Okay, really, just with the name Michonne, he can just go off that. Yeah,
just off that alone.
And he tells him, like, they would have, if you left, they would have had me go be the one to find you because I'm the one that recruited you. I had to kill you and kill your people, and that's why you're here.
So Thorne was right.
Yeah.
Like, she saved his life. She did save him.
Yep. And that's when Rick was like, these aren't my people here. This ain't my city. And he's like, but your wife and daughter, that's your choice. Like, you fight here to save them there. Like, they may not know you're saving them. They may not know you're fighting for them. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to fight for them here.
And I don't call bullshit of him finding the letters that Rick tried to, leave around. Because I think that's his job. His job is when somebody run off or they find somebody, kind of look around the area to make sure there's nothing that can lead back to them.
Well, this is why I don't understand why Rick didn't just kill him then. Like, go ahead and kill him. Like, he just told you he knows all your secrets. He knows your wife. And then he's like almost patting your shoulder like a good dog. Now I got you under control. F you, I'm killing you. I don't give a fuck what happened. Like, you messed with the wrong one. Like, I don't.
Well, after Rick
I'd be so pissed.
Kill him, then what?
Then I guess continue on.
I think Rick's plan to actually make it look like Rick was dead himself was a better plan, because hopefully you don't have people looking for you, which we know that still people would be looking for him. But that would be a better plan than killing somebody and know that people's looking for you.
Okay, but why would people still be looking for him if they thought he died?
Well, we find out that Okafor knows Rick pretty well and probably knew that, hey, this is not him. He didn't die. He would probably have to make sure that this was. Well, that's what Thorne said. Thorne said that, hey, he knows you. He would have went looking for you. I'm not sure he would have went looking for him.
Right.
We don't know, but I'm pretty sure if Thorne knows where Michonne, Alexander, and the area, then they would have eventually crossed paths again.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that they would have when looking for him, but I'm just saying that was a better plan to fake your death and leave
than kill him and
kill the commander in charge.
Well, Rick puts his gun to his head and just says, like, fine, just, like, pull the trigger. Like, please, just take me out of my misery then. And he says, no, you were going to fight for your family now. And this is the start of you getting to higher echelons of power. And Rick was like, I don't want any power. And that's when Okafor tells him, like, you already have it. Like, you already have the power. So what did you think of Okafor telling Rick that he already has power? And do you agree with that statement?
I gotta honestly say right here, I didn't understand it. I don't know. I don't know what he meant by that. Maybe he meant that he's already a leader, that he already knows how to lead people. But I'm not sure about why he would say you already have the power.
Yeah, I liked it. Like, when he said it, I was like, oh, that hit. Because they kind of, like, did a, like, boom, let it drop, let it sit with you for a minute.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking maybe he means it by, like, look it, you already have other A's following you. Look at Thorne. He might know that Thorne saved his life. He obviously knows that Thorne confided in Rick, which already shows some level of a leadership quality if she's already confided in you, because she's now telling Rick something that he told her in confidence.
Right.
So he's seeing, like, yo, you might not think you have power, but you already have people following you.
Maybe. I mean, that's a good theory. Or he could have told him that because he's probably thinking, hey, this job is yours whether you like it or not, or whether you want it or not.
You already have the power because it's yours. I volunteered you as tribute. That's when we learn the city of Omaha has fallen, 90,000 lives lost. This is definitely something that happened or that was shown a little bit more detail. I believe if it's the same thing, I mean, it has to be. It's Omaha, and I'm sure that's where it happened on The World Beyond Season 1. I highly recommend going back and watching that. I loved World Beyond, The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 1. I did not watch Season 2, and there's only 2 seasons, but I do recommend the show. All right, so Thorne tells Rick, that little girl that we saved, her whole family was killed by walkers. Everyone was killed. She hid in a sculpture, and as the walkers tried to reach and grab for her, their guts and blood just kept dripping on her. And finally, after 2 days, she was like, F it. I can't stay in here. I'm willing to just go and die.
I just want to die. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry. And I think she was supposed to be like 10 years old. And oh my gosh, to think that's an A right there. That girl's an A. And she goes out there and nothing happens. The walkers, of course, don't chase her because she has all their blood and guts on them. And she doesn't have anywhere else to go because her parents were killed. So she decides to walk with the walkers.
Yeah.
And we've seen several of our people do that throughout the years. So for a little girl to do it on her own is pretty brave.
Which that's how we realized what was going on, why the walkers wasn't attacking.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it happen so many times before.
So many times, yep.
Now that gotta be, a heartache. You walking out to die, like I'm just over it. I'm hungry. I'm cold. Just kill me, and then mugs just start walking past you.
Yep. But now it's like another survival mode because, like, okay, they don't see me, but now I gotta be quiet. I gotta make sure I be quiet. Like, what does she do when she has to pee? Does she just walk and pee and just keep walking quietly?
Yeah, probably just walk off.
And then when do you eat? Like, she has to pick up something to eat every once in a while. I don't know. I'm just overthinking it, but I'm just putting myself in that little girl's position. That'd be very scary. So, well, Thorne tells Rick she's not sorry she saved his life. And he's like, you didn't save my life. And she's like, yes, I did, because I wouldn't have missed. Like, stop playing. You think you was escaping? I wouldn't have missed. I could have got you like 100 times.
Yep.
And that's when we get back kind of to the beginning of the episode, which it started off we didn't talk about. But at the beginning, we saw Rick attempting to kill himself. He does make a mark, but doesn't go through with it. And he sort of gives up. And that's how the episode started. So now we got to see that he was about to kill himself after everything that has happened.
We got to see the reason.
Yeah.
Because the episode, you're right, it started like this. It started with Rick looking at the little windmills or whatever, putting the glass up to his throat. And I guess they just told us the rest of the story to bring us back to this point.
Yeah, how we got here. And we see Rick obviously does not kill himself. He does give up and decides, and it kind of flips to, not kind of, it does switch to now. It says now. And we get Rick, he's talking to Okafor, and they're in the helicopter now. This ending scene, and he's telling a story when he was 7 years old. He went to get a drink and he saw the crops were burning and his dad's body was half burnt. He wasn't scared, and his dad, not being scared, calmed Rick, and the dad survived. And he told him, like, it's okay, things are gonna get better. And sure enough, he's like, next year we had a new farm, new house. The next year the harvest was the best it ever been. And it was like, wow, like he just thought so highly of his dad. And it wasn't until years later that his mother tells him that, Rick, your father started that fire.
Right. After his father was gone.
Yeah, after his father was gone. Like, your father started that fire, and it saved them, because they would not have made it another season. And Rick was sad to learn that his father had been dishonest. Like, this whole time he always thought, like, wow, my dad was right. It's such a negative thing happened, but he turned it into a positive. And to now learn that his dad actually did that intentionally, and that his scars from his body getting burned were more of a scars of reminder of, hey, this is what I did for my family. This is how I saved my family. I really enjoyed that story, and I understand from Rick's perspective of being disappointed. Like, every kid has probably been disappointed in their parent, like, to learn that they told a lie when you thought one thing of your parent, you know. But I'm listening to it and I'm like, Rick's dad, you're a G, yo. Like, you did that. Like, you did what you had to do to save your family. Was it legal? Was it whatever? You can say all the things of why it was unethical and everything like that. He paid for his crimes. He obviously had the scars. I really enjoyed this story. What did you think over it? And do you agree with Rick's dad?
I agree with Rick's dad, because what won't you do for your family? Rick's dad knew that, like you said, the crops weren't gonna be right the next year. They were gonna lose everything, maybe. So he had to do what he had to do to save his family, and like you said, got a new farm, was able to plant new crops or whatever. I guess he wasn't at the hilltop. He left the hilltop alone to go find out where he could plant some new crops at. And do I understand why Rick is upset with his father, why he was disappointed? Well, like you said, all kids have been disappointed with their parents, off of probably a little white lie. So, yeah, we've all been there. But Rick's father had to do what he had to do. I'm not going to say he did the right thing, did the wrong thing. He did what he had to do, or he felt he had what he had to do.
Yeah, I think it goes a little bit deeper than, like, just a kid being disappointed in their father. Because, like, yeah, every kid, you catch your parent in a little white lie or something like that, and you're like, damn, I didn't think my mom would say that, or dad, I didn't think my dad would say that. But I think the difference in this is that now Rick is an adult, and he's able to, even though he's an adult when he's learning this, it sounds like he was an adult or a young adult if it's years later that his mom is telling them. So maybe he could have been a teenager. But the fact that he felt like this, it still told me that he disagreed with it at that time, the time that his mom told him. But now when he's telling the story to Okafor, I wonder if he thinks about it and thinks differently. Like, now he's done so much also to save his family, like way worse than set something on fire for the insurance money. Like, he's done way, way worse.
Yeah, he set many fires. Yes,
many fires, started them, bombs, everything. He's done it all. So I'm wondering if he's now telling Okafor that story because now, years later, he's been a father, he's been a husband and all this, and now he understands what his dad did.
Yeah, I'm sure he understands now what his father did. And like I said before, I can understand the disappointment also because nobody want to hear about the failure story or a failing story. Mm-hmm. Like, he got to hear that, hey, the reason this happened is because my father failed from the get-go, had to fail, and he just did that to make up for that. Mm-hmm. So I can see how that could be disappointing. But like you said, I mean, you had to set fires for your family. Rick has set many fires.
Many fires, yep. I think pre-apocalypse Rick would have still been like, damn, I can't believe my dad lied.
That's why he became a police officer.
Yeah, that's why he became a police officer. I'm gonna make things right in my family for that sin my dad did all those years ago. Turns out that's why he became a police officer. All right, so we get Okafor, and he's telling him now, like, obviously you could tell their relationship has changed. Like, they're very comfortable with each other. You can sense it in this helicopter scene.
Yeah, they had time to get to know each other. And so you could tell it's been probably another year or years later.
Yeah, it's been some time. And that's why I just thought they did such a good job. This episode, and I hope they stick with it, but it was such an elevated level to me than what we've gotten in the past from The Walking Dead.
It was a elevated storytelling.
Yes, elevated storytelling, yes. And that's why Gary's like, yo, they moved up with their story. We got to try to kind of match it with our potting. Like, we can't just come with the same things. They're coming harder. Let's try to get better as well. And I just really appreciate, I don't know if it was the writing. I don't know if it was directing. I don't know if it was just the time off. Whatever it was that they did, this story was much better told than in previous past.
Well, and also years in the making.
Yes.
I mean, Rick, how long ago did we lose Rick? Like 2-3 years ago?
2-3. We lost him in season 9, early season 9. But at this point, I don't even remember when season 9 was. That could have been pre-pandemic. I don't even know. Like at this point, season 9 could have been like 2018, 2019 for all
they had a lot of time.
Yeah.
to come up with this story, and I'm glad they took their time with it.
I'm glad so. And the same thing can be said, not a whole different show, but it tells you when you just take your time. Is Game of Thrones with House of Dragon. They heard what people didn't like about it, and they came back and they took their time and they did a really good job. All right, so Okafor is saying something about him, and he's telling Rick something. He's like, you'll know when you know, and then boom, he is killed
quickly.
And did you think it was Rick? I was like, how did Rick do this? Like, what did you think?
No, I didn't think it was Rick. I thought it was somebody inside the helicopter though. I thought maybe it was a setup.
Okay.
That's the first thing I thought. I'm like, this is a setup because what is the general name? Bean?
Bill. General Bill.
Like General Bill, already know that he's up to something.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe this is just a setup. Like, okay, we have Rick and them out front. Let's go ahead and get rid of them because we know that they're planning something.
Right.
To find out that it was coming from the outside, it was pretty shocking.
Yeah, and I was if this wasn't the first episode and Rick wasn't the main character, I would have thought he was going to get killed because the helicopter's under attack. There's bombs. I mean, like boom, right behind Rick. It almost looked like Rick's head blew up, like the bomb that's going off behind him. Yeah, like seeing his head jerk forward.
Yep,
and. They're on the ground. There's other people coming off. There's fighting. All this happening. Everyone has face stuff on. So no, you don't see anyone's face, their actual face. Everyone's covered. And sure enough, Michonne, we could tell it's her. She's whooping ass. It's like almost like the beginning of when we first met Michonne that first time. And she's about to cut Rick's throat. And all I kept thinking was, wait, you guys are just killing people without even seeing their face? Like, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, they just killing. You don't even know who you're killing. And sure enough, she lifts his hood up. She sees it's him. The shock on her face, the shock on his face. They can't even say anything. And the whole time I'm screaming, I'm like, protect Michonne. Like, because what if while they're staring, she just gets shot because someone sees her over Rick? I was just so scared. I was like, protect Michonne.
Well, it looks like she killed everybody.
Oh, do you think that Rick was the last one left? Maybe.
Yeah, from that helicopter, Rick was the last one left.
Okay, cause I was just like, no. But then it shows next week on, and they're obviously apart. So what happens? How did they get split up again? Is what I want to know.
No, I don't think they got split up again. I think that they're going to go and tell us Michonne's story.
Oh,
they're gonna show us how Michonne. They showed us how Rick got to this point. Now they're about to go back and show us how Michonne got to this point.
Okay, that makes much more sense. I'm like, when she was like, I'm looking for my husband and I recently found out, or something. I'm looking for someone and I recently found out
he's alive.
She made it sound like they may be alive, and I'm like, what do you mean maybe? You saw him, but okay, that makes more sense if it's showing us her. No, yeah,
before. It is. It's showing before. It's going back to show us how she got with the group she's with, and.
She's with a pretty powerful group. Like, they're obviously can fight the CRM.
Right.
And now it makes me want to go watch The World Beyond again. Like, we'll go watch both seasons.
But now I want to know, how did they get to this point? Like, how did she get to the point where she's shooting helicopters out the sky?
Yeah.
Like, do they feel threatened by this, what is it, the CRM, CMR?
CRM.
Like, do they feel threatened by him? Is it CRM hunting them now? Like, I want to know, how did they get to this point where Michonne thought it was necessary to shoot a helicopter out of the sky?
And if she is looking
and then
for Rick,
they kill everybody in the helicopter.
And then how she almost could have killed Rick. Like, you guys y'all were fighting recklessly. Like, I hope you looked at everybody before you killed them, because like, you just you killing people and they have masks on. You don't know who you're killing.
Well, I think Michonne don't think that Rick would join the army. I mean, if you know anything about Rick, like we know, and Michonne said that she would think that the only thing keeping Rick from her is amnesia or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought. I was like, there's no way. Why else would Rick be gone after he thought he had amnesia? And then when they showed that he remembered Michonne, I was like, okay, he doesn't have amnesia, so what is it?
Right. So I don't think that she ever thought that he would be a part of that army.
That makes sense.
And now I want to know what her beef is with that army.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of Michonne, we got her only a little this episode in the dream sequences. We get 3 dream sequences, and she's in all of them, just looking gorgeous, just looking beautiful. I'm going to try to copy her same hairstyle because I just liked it. It was just so simple but cute. All right, so dream sequence 1. It's a lost Rick. He's asking Michonne for directions. They seem like strangers. He asks, if she likes her work, and she says, well, it's not where I want to be. Are you where you want to be? What did you gather? What do you think she meant by this? And what do you think this sequence means?
Well, we had to understand first that these are Rick dreams. Everything in them is going to have some significant meaning to Rick. Basically has nothing to do with Michonne. So what I got from this part is Rick was deciding whether he needs to join them, like the CRM, or probably not the CRM, but just join the people in the lost city, not the lost city, the hidden city, or not, because it seems like he's looking for directions for his new job. She's already settled. So basically her question to him is, are you where you want to be? Is Rick's question to himself, like, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm stuck in limbo right now. And maybe I'm thinking of going to this. Maybe I'm thinking about going to the hidden city. Let me get directions, because maybe this is the move.
Okay, I like that. So maybe he's talking to her. He's talking to her as his way of talking to his conscience, like saying, like, what should I do?
What should I do? And then by him saying, she's saying, are you where you need? Are you? What did he say? Are you where you need to be, or do you
are you where you want to be?
And he said yes. Well, the yes was where he was at right now, not at the CRM, not. And that's why he said, "Do you like it here? Are you where you want to be?" And she said yes. Oh no, she said no.
I didn't have anything written down for answers. I just.
But I think Rick's was yes, that at this moment he's where he want to be, out where he's at, looking for her. At this point, it seemed like he was thinking about going to the CRM or going to the hidden city, but wasn't quite sure yet.
Right. Okay. Then we get dream sequence 2. Michonne tells Rick she eats lunch there every day, and he asks, "Are the same time? Like, is it the same time?" And she goes, "Aren't you eager?" And that was just a quick little scene.
And still the same thing. I still think Rick is talking to himself, and he's where he want to be right now. And where he want to be is looking for his family, looking for Michonne. And I say that because the next scene, we see Michonne catch on fire or whatever, and we see that's when he's finally giving her up.
Yeah. Maybe he realizes it's better if you really love her, like, give her up, this or she'll die or be on fire. I don't know. Right.
He finally realized that, hey, I can't stay here. I can't do this. I got to move on. I got to continue this journey.
Well, Michonne comes with the all cream, and I wrote, she knew what she was doing wearing that all cream, the turtleneck cream. Oh, she looked gorgeous.
Oh, yes. Yes, she did.
Rick has a pizza, and all I thought was, it's going to get on that cream outfit. And they say they can make the world theirs if they want it. And he says, should I come back tomorrow or whatever, and I can bring 5 pizzas and a wedding ring. And she's like, yeah. And then a fire starts, and then we get like all these flashback scenes in Rick's head of different events that's happened. And that was the last we get of Michonne before we get the now scene. So what's your thoughts on that final scene? And then the wedding ring, he referred to as his wife earlier, but I'm like, I guess I do consider them husband and wife, but I guess they technically never did do like a whole marriage wedding thing like Maggie and Glenn had done. So, but yeah, so what do you think when he says the wedding ring and stuff like that?
Well, I just think that the whole dream sequence just went along with the show. I mean, it was just a lighter way of explaining to us what was already happening. Of him being in limbo, him not undecided about where he wanted to be, him having an opportunity to go for the new job. Hey, do you have directions here if I start this new job? It basically was a softer way of telling this harsh tale that they told us. So it was kind of, the dream sequence was kind of running in sequence with the rest of the storyline. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. All right, before we get into our most likely to die and I ain't fearing shit, Chantel did write in.
Okay.
I think from now on we will probably incorporate the letters throughout the pod, but this one came in while we were podding, so I'm gonna read it off here. She has 11 points. The first one is, goddamn, he still looks good. That all black outfit, the hair, those eyes. She said, okay. She's talking about Rick. Yeah, he definitely was having his Captain America Infinity War moment when they put him on the costume. It was Captain America Infinity War, or we're gonna do Katniss Everdeen Girl on Fire Hunger Games. It was that moment when you put on that outfit, your new costume, and you're that person. Like, you're gonna do it. And he did look great. He's been doing great throughout the off seasons. She goes, I can't believe Rick cut off his own hand. I knew that happened in the comics, but they gave that trait to Aaron on the show, so I figured Rick was in the clear. Holy crap, that was brutal. And then he categorized it in the burning walker's torso. Traumatizing, yeah. Like, as soon as it happened, I was like, wait, Gary, I know this is supposed to happen in the comic books.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they're doing his comic book. I love the twist. I love it.
Oh, yeah, it was a good twist.
And it doesn't even seem to affect him. Like, I keep forgetting it's happened because now he has that such cooler arm thing, that the knife comes out of it.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool. 3, it was heartbreaking to see Rick in a situation where he had no agency. That is a rare position to see Rick in. When he finally said, I tried and I failed, my heart broke. Yeah, my heart broke when he threw, I just recently watched Dear John. I love that movie. And when Dear John, I'll spoil it, when they break up, he throws all her letters away and throws it in a fire, and that's what Rick did. I was like, don't throw those letters away. And he's like, yo, this is my last letter I'll read that you'll never ever, my last letter I'll write that you'll never ever read. I was like, no, still don't throw it away. But I think we all have thrown away love letters or old pictures or whatever from someone that usually it's because of, I hate them, I'll never talk to them again. But in this case, Rick, it was sadder because it was not a hate. It was, I have to move on and throw it away.
Yeah. But B, I never threw away anything.
I knew you were about to say something too, I'm too cool for school for that.
I'm just a hoarder. I go find a letter from the 3rd grade.
Oh my gosh, I believe it. All right. Okay, so this is 4. Those dream sequences in the park were gorgeous. Someone on the hellscape, formerly known as Twitter, said it as though the writers had been reading Rashomon fan fiction, and I agree. It was sheer perfection. A true love letter to the diehard fans. I loved it.
It was.
I loved it too.
Yeah.
It was just showing them. They were all nice and clean. You don't really ever get to see a clean Michonne with a clean Rick, and they're don't have blood and guts on them. And
it's been a long time since we've seen a clean Michonne.
Yeah, a very long time.
And I'm not talking about clean because I'm pretty sure she took plenty of showers at Alexandria and at Commonwealth or wherever. No, she wasn't at Commonwealth, was she? No, she was already gone. I know
Oh, yeah, she's been gone. Yeah,
she was already gone. But we know she's been taking showers and everything. But I'm talking like clean like this. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen this since when was she introduced? Season 3.
3.
And when they showed the flashback,
of
her brother,
her brother and her husband and her baby,
the baby,
yeah. That's the last time we seen her in clean clothes like this. All right, she goes 5. I'm so happy they didn't draw out the reunion. I was shook that they gave it to us so soon in the series, but I was equally thrilled about it. Clearly, having Denaya and Andrew, on board as producers has reeled in Scott Gimple and muted his foolishness. If it was left up to him, Rick and Michonne would keep missing each other and would only reunite in the final episode. Eye roll. Yep. They would have did it's been done too many times, and I forgave it on Game of Thrones with the 2 little girls, Arya and whatever the other girl's name is. The 2 sisters.
Yeah,
Sansa. Yeah, when they kept missing each other. But I would have been pissed. And that's why I thought at the end, I'm like, no, how did they split up again? But you're like, no, they didn't. That's showing Michonne's backstory. So that makes me feel better.
Yeah, but I wouldn't get happy just yet. I think they gave it to us the first episode, but it might be a while before we see them together again.
No, because all they really can do is give us Michonne's backstory, and then we need to see them together episode 3.
Maybe.
Because there's only 6 episodes.
Yeah. But you never know. After they give us a Michonne backstory, there's still so much of Rick's story they could give us.
I know, but I hope because then that will still do exactly what she just described just now, waiting till the end to give us.
Yeah, that's what I think they're doing. I think that we're going to get them together maybe episode 5 is when we're going to really get them together, making moves. But I don't know.
I hope not. And I know it says season 1. I don't know if there's more than one season. I don't really... they've been talking about this show for so long, and I could have sworn it was going to be like a movie. So I really don't try to look at the news.
I think there's going to be multiple seasons.
What the future is going to be. Okay, because wasn't this originally like the Rick movies, the Rick Grimes movies? Like maybe it was pre-COVID, and then all of a sudden now it's like a show. So, which I'm fine with. I'd rather watch comfortably at home. All right, 6. She goes, even in dreams, Michonne sustains Rick. Her words have always kept him going. In the dream sequences, she kept saying, I believe in you. She encouraged him right before the war with the Saviors kicked off by saying, quote, we're the ones who live, quote. Time and time again, she has bolstered him and supported him. Unlike Laurie, he always questioned, second-guess, and gaslit him. He even said it in his own words, Michonne is the love of his life. I was not a big Laurie hater. I was not. I know a lot of people hated Laurie. I am sort of judging her. She should have never been sleeping with his friend, like right after he died. But you don't know what you would do in a zombie apocalypse. Like, you just don't know what
I don't judge her because she thought he was dead.
She thought he was dead.
He was dead.
They were in a horrible situation, traumatized. They bonded. So I just
bonded.
I don't know what I would do. Now, some things she did act towards Rick once she found out he was alive and trying to like attitudes and all that with him, I didn't appreciate. But I'm not going to act like she was just the worst person in the world.
Right.
But I do believe that, Michonne is more in their new world. She is more equally yoked to Rick than Laurie. But we don't know how Laurie would have been when she became, Rick wasn't even Rick yet when Laurie died. Rick was just starting to become Rick.
Yeah, he was just starting. Yeah.
So, who knows? They might have balanced each other out. You never know.
And when we met Michonne, let's not act like, we didn't think she was weird.
Yeah. She was weird, not talking. Remember? She was not talking much.
She was obsessed with, who was she obsessed with?
Obsessed with the governor back then?
No. It was the girl that the governor was seeing.
Andrea? She was obsessed with Andrea.
She was obsessed with Andrea. Remember?
No, Andrea was her girl, and Andrea did her wrong and dissed her and left her for the governor.
Remember, she didn't want Andrea to leave her for the governor for nothing or be around the governor.
Because that was her only person at the time she knew. She was like, damn, the only person in this world I know is about to leave me for this crazy man.
No.
She wasn't upset. I can't believe you played her like that. She was just mad at her friend. She was trying to save her friend. She was
mad her friend found a man.
Yeah, she was.
Her friend found a man, and now she's gonna be hanging out with him most of the time.
Well, he wasn't a good man, Savannah. I can tell you that much. In this case, he wasn't a good man.
We already know that he wasn't a good man, but she didn't know it at the time. She didn't even want to give him a shot. She will lose her friend.
All right, well, let's finish up. She goes, 7, I can't wait to see his reaction when he finds out about RJ. Yeah, he's going to know that he has little RJ out there. 8, there are so many parallels in this first episode. I will do a full list and send it in for next week. And okay, perfect. And 9, is Pearl going to be a problem for us? I think she might actually be in love with Rick. What was with her walking into his room without being told to come in? What was with her comment about him being the only good man left? Pearl better back up.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that Pearl was in love with him or even was trying to be his love interest. I think they just have so much in common. They have a lot in common. I mean, it's a good work relationship. If Rick stopped trying to, get out of there, it'll be a good work relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get any like love vibes or anything like that from her or Rick. I did immediately first think it when they introduced women. I'm like, okay, she's a pretty woman. Like, I hope they're not going to try to introduce love interest. But it was clear none of that was happening. And yeah, so and now that him and Michonne found each other, I don't see that happening. So hopefully not.
I don't see it happening because they've had time, unless it's happened.
And I doubt it's happened.
Well, that's the only thing I'm saying. I mean, I doubt it's happened, but it could have happened.
Yeah.
I'm saying that in that time period where they spent building that base up, you kept seeing little flashes of them at the table around there. I mean, you never know. They could have formed something, and we may get that in another story.
That is true. Okay, 10, do you guys think Esteban's girlfriend, who is a journalist, will come into play? She has to, right? Otherwise, why give us that information? Remember, Connie was a journalist before the zombie apocalypse. The journalism helped take down the Commonwealth.
I don't want that story again.
I don't either.
I don't want that storyline. So I hope they keep it.
Yeah, keep that. Keep whatever nonsense happened in season 11 to season 11. Okay, her last thought is, what is going to happen to our favorites going forward? They've been apart for like 10 years, a 10-year period. Yes, they are in love, and it is strong, white, hot, lasting love, but it has been a decade. They've been through various shit that has fundamentally changed them as people. There's got to be some conflict between the two of them. It can't all be external conflict. The CRM, General Beale, and Jadis all know where Michonne and Rick's family live. So they can't just up and leave. Something has to happen. Would Rick send Michonne back home and remain in the CRM to ensure that his family is protected? This is going to be a crazy 6 episodes. And yeah, thanks for writing. She's like, she knew she was writing in while we were potting. So she says, love you guys. Have a great week. Thank you, Chantel.
Thank you, Chantel.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, has it been 10 years? Because it's showing, okay, it was originally 5 years after the apocalypse. 5 years after the bridge. Yeah. And then maybe it's been a few more years, maybe like 8 years.
Yeah, about 7, 8 years.
7, 8 years, maybe.
Because yeah, we started with 5, and we know it took them 1 year to build the thing.
Yeah, and then it's been a few years.
So it's been a few years since. Yeah. So I would say, 7 or 8 safely.
I think they definitely have changed as people. So much has happened since Rick has left that we seen from Michonne's end. And I'm pretty sure we haven't seen a lot yet that Rick has gone through, but we've seen enough. But I feel like the fact that they're still pining for each other and trying to look for each other, they're not going to be like, oh, we're different people now. They're going to learn each other, the new people over now, if they're given that chance.
Yeah, they had definitely learned each other over if given a chance. It is kind of disappointing, and I would love to see how Michonne ended up with this group. But after a couple of years, I would think Michonne would just go back to be with their kids.
Her kids, yeah. She should have been left.
Kids. Like, she should have been like, okay, this is the last place that I've seen them at. I'll start here, but let me go back to see my kids. So I'm thinking something else must have happened, because you can't finding boots and finding a hat and finding little things, to me, wouldn't be enough to keep me going.
Yeah, she must have found more evidence as time went on, I'm thinking.
No, but that still wouldn't be enough.
To even got you looking?
After certain years, it'll keep me looking, but I'll keep putting like a a thumbtack in places. Like, okay, I've been here. Let me go back home. Because it may turn out when they get, those kids going to be years older.
Yeah.
Years older.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
RJ is not going to know Michonne or Rick as mom and dad.
He was old enough to at least know Michonne.
If it's been 10 more years and they took him, he's been gone since she was 5 or 4.
Yeah. I mean, 5, but you remember. You're going to remember at 5 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to remember your mother, your parents, especially with your sister right there telling you, probably telling you stories or reminding you. I still think, okay, there's, Michonne trusts, Daryl and them. Well, Daryl's not even there anymore.
Yep.
So I don't know. And we know Carol's not there anymore.
Yep. So, and Rosita's not there.
So who are you trusting your kids with this long?
She don't even know. Hopefully, she needs to be going back every now. I mean, that's what tells me something must have happened to her. She couldn't go back either.
Yeah. I ain't fearing shit.
All right, I ain't fearing shit.
Who you got?
Wait, we're not gonna do most likely to die. We do I ain't fearing shit first. Okay.
I don't want to do most likely to die because I know we're not gonna be here.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, we're not going to be on the same storyline next week.
We're going
to be on Michonne. So
yeah, you're right.
I don't know any characters on that side yet.
Yeah. All right, so I ain't fearing shit. Well, duh, we have to give it to Rick, or I guess a little girl too. But I'm gonna give it to Rick. I know that little girl was very brave. Hearing her story, even just hearing it secondhand from Thorne was a very compelling story. However, cutting your arm off to escape, like, I can't even fathom that. I would just be...
While you're already in danger.
Well, yeah, you're already in danger. You're already trying to protect yourself. There's walkers coming at you from all angles. Scary walkers in the middle of the night on fire. And then to categorize it, or whatever, in the fire of a walker is crazy. So, yeah, I'm going to give I ain't fearing shit to Rick.
And I agree with you. It could have went well, I don't think the little girl, I wouldn't have gave it to her because she was just surviving. So I wouldn't call that not fearing shit. But I mean, it could have went to Okafor for trying to bring Thorne and Rick into a circle, especially after Thorne tried to kill him already. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. Or it could have went to Thorne. Because Thorne helped out Rick. When Rick was surrounded by the walkers trying to save the girl, she jumped in there and killed all of them. But like I said, I agree with you. It has to go to Rick. Rick has done the most this episode. And then cutting off your own arm just to get away. Mm-hmm. And we learned that's the 4th time. So
the 4th time he tried to escape.
We caught the 5th time he tried to escape.
Oh yeah,
with the girl. Mm-hmm. But we know that the arm was the 4th time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Esteban could be a third runner-up for Hyper shit. He did tell Rick everything he knew.
That he needed to know, gave him the code and everything. Mm-hmm. Did you write the code down?
4399.
I knew you did.
No, I didn't write it down. I just remember numbers.
But I agree with you. It's Rick. Rick did the most of this episode to get back home, to get to his wife and kid.
Kids.
Well, we know it's kids, but he's doing it for his wife and kid at the moment. He'll find out he's doing it for his wife and kids.
Well, he knew Michonne was pregnant before he left. So he did have an idea.
Yeah, he had an idea.
All right, well, that is all we got. We enjoyed talking about this episode. I hope the whole season is as good as this episode. It was amazing to watch and to talk about. So
it was.
Happy to be back. Until next week, I'm Nicole.
I'm Gary.
Have a good one. Bye.